Richard Futrell, this is an exciting time to talk to you about the techie aspects of home-based video conferencing, and you're my go-to guy, and now I brought you on as part of the team for us offering the full service consulting and home-based video. Good to have you here today.
Nice to be here, Martin, and a part of the team.
I want to talk about some of the things like low bandwidth, dropout, and stuff like that, and some of the things people can do to reduce it. One of the biggest things that we want people to know is just the fact is if you can connect through Ethernet to your hub, do it. Because the cables are pretty cheap, you know, and you can buy a 50 or 100-foot cable, Cat 6 or 7. Which do you recommend today so you're ready for the future?
Well, I recommend Cat 6 right now. That's Cat 7 still pretty new to the industry.
Good. Okay, so it's Cat 6 cable. I'm using a flat one that's running down the hallway that's plugged directly into the main wireless hub of my entire system. And that's massively going to improve the quality of your signal, especially if you're the speaker or presenter. You don't want to be the person dropping out.
Well, it's always better to have a hardline cable to your machine if at all possible, but wireless, as long as you have a good wireless signal, I would say a 5G wireless signal, not the 2.4, the 5. The 5 runs a whole lot faster and does not allow the lag. 2 only runs at a lower speed, but it's still reliable if you're only doing voice. But if you're doing voice and video, 5 is always better. But hardwire is always the best option to provide the most optimal service.
Yes, and I like the point about 5G and 2G. We're both amateur radio operators, and people don't realize 5G doesn't penetrate as far, but it is faster. So you might need to be closer to the hub to be able to get the maximum out of that.
That is correct. It does not penetrate brick or wood very well, but if you have the wireless router very close, it does a very good job.
Excellent point. So I'd set the priority is best is going to be hardwired in. Second best would be 5G close to your computer. Don't have it, you know, if you have a 3,000 square foot and it's at the opposite end of the building, it's not going to get through as well. That's why right. The smart devices really often don't even use the 5G because they're trying to reach everywhere. Then the last would be just whatever wireless you have if you have to get it.
Correct.
Now I want to talk a little bit about some things they can do in more rural areas where we really do have examples of what I call the digital divide, because we've got people in rural areas who are dropping out and you're moving to a new location where it could be a lower speed system they have, and things they might be able to do, like maybe turn off their video while they're talking or something else.
Well, where I'm going right now, there's absolutely nothing but dial-up. We just found out, but it's going to, but you can use cellular devices as long as you have a good cellular service that has stable service in your current area for doing meetings. A lot of people sort of don't like doing this because you're dependent on a cellular company, but believe it or not, that 4G LTE is great for a lot of stuff. It's got more bandwidth than most households. So that is a good backup solution for temporary, but you know, depending on your plan, it could cost you a lot more.
Right, and also some ratchet back the performance after you've used a certain amount. So you want to learn from your provider what their rules are.
Yeah, most of it is 20 gigabytes on most cellular, but there's a couple that provide for rural areas a Wi-Fi solution for it's like $100 a month, and they give you unlimited data. So and it appears to run off the Sprint backbone.
And one other thing is you can get extended antenna, which you could help them with. I know of one person in a rural area that has a telephone pole, and they're going to be putting an external antenna on it because they run their whole business off the internet, and they had no idea the place they were going to had something that they described makes dial-up look fast. And you have to be old enough to know what that is. We used to have modems that made squealing noises when they connected. The other thing is talk about cutting down things running in the background. That's another way you can suck down bandwidth. Remember, it's a pipe coming into your house, and if everyone's taking a shower, that's going to get a lot poor in performance.
As Martin said, there is a lot of truth to the shower scenario. You got your internet coming in to paste on your input to your home and output. They both resolve one or the other because you got an input and an output, which, if you have only input, you're not going to be able to feed your audio out or your video. So, you have to limit the amount of devices on that network to also better the quality. Services running in the background.
Some of the synchronization tools can too, like Dropbox, or didn't you tell me that the Microsoft Sync, it can be quite a memory hog and resource hog?
Yep, OneDrive is always syncing on Windows 10. There is only one option to turn that off, which is going to a local account, which a lot of people don't want to do. So that's hopefully Microsoft to get that better. But if you sync to Google Drive or Dropbox or any of these other file sharing services, it does, unless you have it at a certain time, it can go anytime. A lot of people don't know that browsers like Firefox, Google Chrome use extensions. Every one of those extensions that you load in there will cause memory resources to be used constantly, not just when you're in the browser, but constantly. So you need to maintain and know what you have installed and what's running and all that good stuff. And that will cause a drastic improvement on your performance on your computer and your video conferencing.
Yeah, another one is having Skype loaded. For gosh sakes, if you're on Zoom, make sure you've closed down Skype, because it loves to get going, stay in there, and be in the background too. So kind of look at what you got running, and if you have a conference, shut all that down before you start. Next, I want to just talk about, people don't realize, other family members at home streaming Netflix, or many people are not working off of the standard cable system and they're doing streaming. That's another great way to kill your bandwidth for a meeting.
Oh, most definitely. Streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, they're pulling massive amounts of bandwidth from your service. So that is definitely another killer of teleconferencing.
Let's just kind of review some of the fundamentals. One thing, shut everything down that doesn't need to be run, correct?
Correct.
Second, see what else is sucking down bandwidth in your household. So do an audit of it. You're running a business. You might have to say, no, you don't get to watch Netflix. And I'm sure, Richard, there's a way you could set it up where that sets priority.
Yeah, the majority of the times I am able to remote into a PC, get access to the router with the client's help, and do some tweaking. A lot of the newer routers, as you said, do have what they call prioritized for the computer. So you can take the computer that you're using the most and doing teleconferencing with and put it so it grabs the most bandwidth from that router, and the rest of them will be even out. It's almost like a quality of service.
The other thing is smart devices can eat up bandwidth for your conference as well.
Yes, smart devices, even though they're not being utilized, do sit there and draw for your applications that are currently active. They do draw bandwidth. So they do take a small portion of your bandwidth if you're on your wireless network.
So managing that bandwidth is a very key thing to getting a good quality signal across your video conferencing, because remember, this is your new digital first impression. You want to sound good, you want to look good, you don't want to drop out in the middle of a conference if you can control it, and other aspects of it.
That is correct. If you don't know what's going on in the background, you could have a lot of various issues.
Very good, Richard. I think we covered it well, and I do want to say we'll put the link below for direct contact you or anything else you think is a good resource for people to check out. How can they contact you directly? They can through the team, but if they just want to reach out and have you kind of do an audit of their system as well.
No, you could reach me by phone at 919-578-5420 or at my website at futrellconsulting.net.
Excellent. Richard, thanks again for your time.
Thank you for having me, Martin.